Hello and welcome back to Podcasting as Praxis. I'm David. I'm here with Rob.
Hello.
James.
Hello.
And Jamie.
You alright?
No, I live in Britain, so I am not alright.
Is this a recent development, David, or...?
No, unfortunately not. It's a very fucking long-going thing. Terminal, you might say.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So, tonight's episode, we are going to look at some things in the news and a couple of articles, all of which have a lovely repeating theme of brainworms. Everyone that we cover in this is fully infected, and they are also terminal.
Yummy. Delicious. Love it.
Yes. So, let's just fucking kick off, will we? Let's not fuck about. The first thing I want to talk about is the brainworms in Dominic Raab.
A man consisting mainly of brainworms, so you're going to have to be more specific than that.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're going to need to tease this one out, David. Come on.
Yeah. So, he's now the fucking Justice Secretary.
Christ, yes he is.
Yeah, you forgot about that, didn't you?
How the...
Just put it out of his mind defensively.
So, Dominic Raab has announced a bunch of fun reforms to prisons.
Oh, I love prison reforms. They're my favourite.
Yes.
I'm going to assume that it's abolitionism, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Must be, right, David?
Nope. No, it's not. It's not.
No, it's chain gangs and like fucking shooting anyone they find with heroin.
Oh, okay. Well, that's almost the same.
That's not far off, yeah.
No.
He's got a few separate points that he's laid out in the Telegraph, so I thought we'd go through them. So we have his first point, and bear in mind, this is the list of all the things he wants to do. This is the first thing he brought up. More X-ray body scanners.
What?
Yes.
So what we were safe to assume his mate owns an X-ray body scanner business.
Yep, that's exactly where I'm at as well, Jamie.
Or he's been watching Total Recall again.
It's fitting that he's writing this in the Telegraph because he's a fucking Pole.
Oh.
So when are we supposed to scan them more? When they come in or when they come back from lunch?
It's when anyone comes in, it's to tackle drugs, knives and phones.
Drugs, famously that thing that airport X-ray scanners have been able to stop for decades now.
Yes. Yeah, so that's something.
Well, you see, first you set up the X-ray scanners, and then you get the CIA to list all of the drugs coming into Britain with that chemical they give you when you do an MRI.
Well, drugs are quite a big focus throughout this, as you would probably expect from the Tories who love to just blame shit on drugs. One of the other things that Raab intends to do is assessing offenders for addiction on entry to prison. That's actually quite good. That's not a bad thing.
Okay. In and of itself.
And simultaneously, so yeah, in and of itself, that could be good. But simultaneously, reduce the over-reliance on opiate substitutes like methadone and focus more on longer-term, abstinence-based treatment. That's bad.
Fuck. Oh, good. The thing that works so well everywhere, abstinence-based treatments. I can't think of a situation where just saying no didn't work out.
Welcome to jail. Put them in solitary. They're doing cold turkey.
Again, I can't see what could possibly can go wrong with this particular way of approaching things. I mean, ever since Nancy Reagan, we haven't had a drug problem, so I don't even know why we're doing this.
Because it plays well with the kind of fucking goblins that read the mail.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. I mean, actually, buried in this, like, if you just immediately go to realpolitik mode and say, well, fucking abolition's clearly not going to come from them, but maybe some good things could potentially be made out of this. There are a couple of little nuggets of, like, that's actually not a terrible idea, but then obviously the implementation of it's fucking horrible.
I'm going to go ahead and say there will be no good things that come of this, and I base this on, nothing but no experience of life in Britain, but watching it.
I think this is fucking Raab taking a run up to we should summarily execute anyone caught like dealing drugs within like 4 miles of a school or something like that. You know what I mean? That's the next big battleground in the culture war.
No, it'd be stepping on Priti Patel's toes there though. Yeah. The next point that he comes up with is a prisoner education service. Again, that's not a terrible thing. That's not terrible. Like,
sorry, it's like I've got this principle with Tories, right? which is if they say something that sounds like it's a good idea, it's actually because they've had to put a nice little gloss on this one, because in reality what they're going to do is so fucking awful and evil.
I'm going to say all of the courses they offer are going to be vocational.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, almost certainly, yeah.
Can prisoners use their 3,000 quid skills wallet for this, you reckon? Or...
No fucking clue. However, like Jamie said, it's going to be vocational. But that feeds into the next problem, which is not only are they going to get more education, there'll be more work for prisoners.
Okay.
And I've got a quote from him here. I want to see a step change in the drive to get inmates and offenders released on licence into work. We know it reduces reoffending by giving ex-offenders a regular pay packet, stability in their lives, and a stronger sense of self-esteem.
Right, so we're doing America, basically. We're going to make the prisoners into slaves. Got you.
Yeah,
okay.
Some real fucking Calvinist bullshit. Yeah.
Also, I was just looking up, and Rob, I can confirm that they're not going to have their skills wallets in the prison. That's not going to be applicable.
Rats.
Yeah,
okay.
you know, I mean, that's what they're going to be. Yeah, well, I mean, it makes sense because that's what they're going to be probing with the X-ray machines.
Ah, okay.
For fuck's sake. Oh, right.
So the prisoners will get some education, but mainly they will just be working on the railroad all the livelong day or something like that, I assume.
Yeah. That's kind of going to be the long and short of it, yeah. So any vocational stuff will probably be geared up towards whichever private companies that they have some sort of deal with, where they provide some sort of work for a
Amazon
tax break
warehouses.
or whatever. Yeah, and then they'll go in and do the work for them and be paid fucking peanuts.
No, it won't be Amazon warehouses for a variety of different reasons, mainly to do with like prison contraband and a bunch of other shit. What it's going to be is it's going to be call centres.
I was going to say pick for Britain, agricultural labour. Seriously.
Also possibly, yeah, down the line.
Clean for the Queen's ghost.
There's some other vague bullshit he goes on about here, like resettlement passports, and it just sounds like a checklist of release, basically. It doesn't really sound like anything drastically fucking innovative or useful in any real way that's probably not already done. I think they were just looking to make 7 points rather than 6, and that's why they added that in. The next one we have is technology. Technology to give prisoners wider in-cell access. That's in-cell.
That's how they're going to solve the problem of incels, like, not having anyone to fuck.
See, I was about to say, like, giving them access to incels doesn't actually solve both problems.
More anime in prisons.
So that more access in their cells to education and training courses, and to, again, this is a quote here, enable them to interact with medics to improve their mental health and stay the course on addiction programs to get them off the drugs.
Get to fuck.
Wait, to get them off the drugs, which are often responsible for crime in the first place.
Oh, fuck right off. That's amazing. Absolutely fantastic.
Oh, so we're bringing telehealth into the UK by stealth, because that's what that is.
Yes. Yeah, yes. That is what it is.
Prisoners will have access to training and education over the internet via computer terminals or tablets in their cells after they have been vetted to ensure they will not abuse the privilege.
Well, if you're...
I just, you know what I mean? As if fucking, do you know what I mean? This is actually a great policy because, like, you know what I mean? The kind of dipshit that would work as a prison guard deserves to have to look at the kind of grot that they're going to fucking have to, like, police. Do you know what I mean? As a result of this.
See, I like that idea, but the sad reality of it is that the United States has this shit locked down hard. Like, they're pretty far ahead in terms of immiserating prisoners and locking down everything they use. So I think this is going to be the thin end of a wedge, which will ultimately lead to that system they have in the US where you don't actually get in-person visits. You have to use, like, a camera phone system that you prepay credit for.
Yeah, that costs like $10 a minute or something insane like that.
Yeah,
I was reading
really
about that
insane.
while ago. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I think this is where this is headed. But actually, David,
yeah,
can I ask a question?
You know, if you're gonna give the prisoners jobs, they need something to spend that money on. It's not like they can pop out for 20 Bensons, is it?
I'm not even kidding. It's company town bullshit is where it heads, right?
Yeah.
So you come up with things for them to spend the money on, which actually puts it back to the people who are, etc., etc., etc. David, I've got a question. This is slightly wide of the subject area, but is related. Is this all because the government's been dinged for not being law-abiding and breaking rules and for the Christmas party shit and all the rest of it? And is it at all related to Boris and his fucking police jacket and police beanie and police corona mask and police underwear, probably?
I'll get on to that in just a second. That's my next fucking bit of brain worms. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a fucking strategist for this government. If I was, I'd be doing a better job of it.
Well, fortunately, we do have a strategist in our midst, so I think we should, physician heal thyself, James. What do you think it is?
It's almost like I was asking a question rhetorically, Rob, but I don't know. Here's the thing. All this tough on crime stuff, tough on crime is the basic drumbeat of the Conservatives, right? It's the thing they can always fall back on because it's got basically no downsides from their perspective. And it feels to me like a regressive, reactionary, almost panic move. I don't read this necessarily as Rab bolstering his leadership potential, though it probably is that too. I think this is just reaction for, look, our government is not criminal. Our government is tough on crime, and quick, kick off a drug war. Distract them, throw down a smoke bomb of cocaine that we're setting on fire. Honest, we're not snorting it. I think that's kind of what it is.
I don't even know that it is that. I genuinely think it is. If it's a distraction from anything, the policy announcements are all distractions from Omicron. That's pretty much what it's going to be at the moment, because that's the biggest fuck up that they can really have attributed to them at the moment with material impacts.
I think that's a very strong argument. That's a part of it. I don't know. It's hard to judge. What is any one thing in a situation? But
it's also like you said. This is the baseline for the Tories as well.
Yeah.
It's been a while since they've done anything like this, so they're probably overdue just farting some shit out. Yeah,
it's also the thing about the Omicron is that it's not really getting hit in the media the same way as their other shit is. The media is conspicuously silent on the fucking poor handling of COVID a lot of the time. So that's why I lean more towards the other shit.
But because there's still time to do something about their poor handling of COVID. A Christmas party that happened last year, unless someone's got a fucking DeLorean handy, there's nothing going to be done about that.
You're 100% right, Jamie. Absolutely 100%. Seriously, with my professional hat on, I'd say so. I think that really is quite that simple. I think once Omicron reaches a point where essentially it's all completely fucked and there's nothing to be done about it, and there's many more thousands dead, then the media will start making hand-wringing articles about it, which will still excuse the government and go, well, there wasn't really any good options. So, fuck them. Anyway, David, this list you're making, that Rab has made.
Yeah, my list looks very different from this list. No, that's pretty much it. The 7th point is more prison officers. 5,000 more prison officers. Yay, okay.
Wait, 5,000 more prison officers. Is this alongside the 20,000 more police officers and the...
Yes, prison officers are different from police officers, yes.
They are a different category.
Okay.
Prison officer, try and imagine a cop, but more pathetic.
Yeah. But, they're called the screws for a reason. They are... it's strangely enough, right? I knew someone who went to prison once, and he told me a little bit about it. And he said that the cops actually get a fair bit of respect in prisons. Not a lot, right? Obviously, they're cops, but they get a fair bit.
More than the officers in the prison do.
Well, that's the thing, right? The way it kind of works, he said he thinks it goes like this. The cops caught them, therefore they've kind of got to have a grudging respect of them. They can't put them down too far, or they're basically putting themselves down, because if the person who caught you is absolute shit, then what does that make you, right? But the screws, on the other hand, can't fucking stand. And it's mainly because they're so inconsistent, and they're real petty tyrants, most of them. Really kind of...
My dad was a prison officer.
the law deepens, Jamie. That fits very well with your description of him so far. Fucking hell. Was your dad the worst person in the world, and just by virtue of rebelling on each and every point that he occupied, you've ended up being the ideal shitpost podcaster?
No, because as the worst guy in the world, he did occasionally make a good point, and that was terrible. All right, moving on. Continuing the theme of drugs and the theme of brainworms, Boris Johnson has said that drugs are bad and scary.
Are they? I thought they were cool and good.
This was worth news.
Was he sniffing a lot when he said it, David?
Pass. Didn't have the
was he
video of it,
shaking
thankfully.
slightly on the spot and glancing wildly around the room as he was saying it?
Did he look like he could see Birdmen?
Again, I did say that Boris Johnson said this. Drugs are driving a lot of misery, and we can fix it. They are not going to make you happier.
Needed.
Doubt. They are not going to make you more
Drugs
successful.
are driving the big truck around Kent.
They're not going to make you cooler. They're bad news.
I mean, that's clearly false.
No, it's true.
Yes, nobody's
it's true.
cooler than someone who smokes, drinks, and does drugs.
No, but that's the thing. They're not going to make you cooler, but if you do them, you are cool, right? That's how it works.
Did he finish that line by saying, also, you really should open that restaurant. You'll be a star, I know it.
Has the government announced it's making a big investment in a theme park somewhere near the
Thames? This is part of the ongoing bullshit they pull out about county lines issues, county lines gangs.
County lines are sort of ghosts that can sort of be summoned at will.
What the fuck is this? Because this is some Dukes of Hazzard shit as far as I'm concerned.
County lines, yes, it involves moving people across the lines between counties and police forces not being joined up, etc., etc. But that's all aside. What it really is it's pipelines into the counties and into the countryside, whereby they take children from the cities and move them out into these small towns and other places which are dying, basically, isolating them from any connections, and use them as drug sellers and drug pushers and as their go-betweens. Because they're cut off from their home families, they're cut off from their community, they've got no one to turn to and run to, and basically it's a kind of modern slavery run across county lines.
Yeah, the trick here is that it's not just cops that don't know any of the people involved, it's also social services, etc.
Yes, that's the key part, right?
And
it
so
skips the social services element.
So what part of this is stopped by more conductors on trains?
Yes. It's bullshit. It stops nothing. Unless you want stop and search on every child to be enacted, which obviously is Tories. They probably fucking do.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds very Tory.
Yeah. I mean, there is a simple solution to this, and it's stop devolving this kind of shit down to councils and make it a national service that's run the same everywhere.
Or just
it's a very simple fucking solution.
Drugs and just, have people buy it.
Also that, yeah. When it comes to the traffic and stuff like that, merge the services into a national one.
If you legalise the drugs, well then everyone will be on heroin, so that Pfizer can make more money off their Pfizer brand heroin. and a capitalist endeavour making profits would be bad in this one specific instance and this one specific instance alone.
I mean, sort of. I mean, it's war on drugs does have two routes, right? There's a political route, which is basically what this shit is, I'm convinced, right? Because it was a whole Nixon thing of we'll target weed and we'll get all the, hippies and we'll on the left, and we'll target heroin and we'll get all the, as he called them, in fact, I won't even repeat what he called them, we'll get all the African American communities was what they were basically doing, right? And they're basically doing the same thing, right? It's let's kick drugs again and make a drug war to detract from our, lack of popularity on the domestic front, essentially. But there's the other component to it is capital doesn't like drugs which make the workers unreliable or lazy, is what it really comes down to. They're fine with alcohol because it's an angry drug most of the time, and, they can still work with people around that, and it's got a relatively short half-life. And they're fine with nicotine because it's an agitating drug, right? But any of the other ones, they make people unfit for work.
Which is wild when you consider the sheer productivity that cocaine can give you.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's wrong with coke then? Not to get into the whole boring side story of the cocaine in the White House in the fucking Westminster. Who gives a shit? That's fine. Just do rails, whatever. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
What about all the stupid shit kids in school try to do to get high, tea leaves and fucking banana peels and
smoking an awful lot of nutmeg? Yeah,
I think anything that's
smashing up a fucking tube of Smarties with a mortar and pestle and then trying to do lines.
Oh my god, that happened in your school too. God damn.
I once witnessed
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, smarties have the answer.
I once witnessed some people doing lines of Pro Plus as a teenager.
That's great.
My kind of people. Do you know what I mean? Just get a bit of that caffeine directly, like just rub it in your eyes. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to see God and I'm going to fight him with a hammer.
Oh, I wish Alistair was here for this conversation.
He's on the come down from all the Smarties he did over the weekend. Oh, someone sold him a dodgy toffo.
Oh, fucking hell. Right, so one other thing that's been suggested here is that we could just take the passports away of drug users.
Oh.
So what will...
Now, I have a question, right?
Yes. Because
I don't know. I've been really, really busy, so I should probably have looked this up, but like, fuck it, it's the Tories mouthing off until it gets to the legislative stage, who cares? When they say take the passports away, do they mean render stateless? Do they mean
they mean take the passport away.
Yeah, right. Put it in the back of the kitchen drawer where you'll forget it's there.
Yeah. The direct quote here is, again, and this kind of chimes in with something that Rab said. The country is littered with victims of what's happened. We are going to look at new ways of penalising them. Direct quote there, I have not edited. Yes.
The country is littered with victims of what's happened.
Yes, we are going to look at new ways of penalising them.
I'm just really stuck on the victims of what's happened. Like,
yeah, what's happened? What's happened is
drugs have happened.
Is that a nefarious other has turned up and like just pushed drugs on people? Because no British person would be of such like slender moral character that they would do the big drug unless like a nefarious foreign like tricked them somehow. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
it's the old dope dealer spreading joy wherever he goes.
I mean, look,
but the trick here is though that the victims are the ones that must be penalised.
Well, yeah, because you know what I mean. Like it's like you can't. How are you going to penalise like Crossroads demons or whoever you think is behind this?
Well, yeah, but it's also, I think it's simpler than that. I mean, you know, Rab, Boris, Gold, the rest of them, they're not going to lock up their dealer, are they?
Well, what they want to do here is things that will actually interfere with their lives. So we will look at taking away passports and driving licenses.
Just going to come round when they're out and brick up their front door.
I love that. Take away passports and driving licenses. Seriously.
Yes. You come home one day and all of your left shoes have gone. You know what I mean? Just like fucking there's a note from the government going like fucking sort yourself out. Or we'll be back for the laces. Do you know what I mean? It's just like fucking interfere with their lives, man. Jesus, this country is a fucking circus, man.
No, it'll be something more direct, like they open their drawer and all the spoons are gone, sort of thing, because that's drug paraphernalia, clearly.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of daft policy that they're looking at for.
But like how
big crime of drug.
I will confess, I'm not too familiar with the intricacies of the UK drug trade, but I can't imagine, like at the lower end, which is always where they're aiming for. Like I can't imagine many of them take like foreign holidays and big trips anyway. Like I can't imagine if you're stuck in one of these like county line child houses you're like, I'm about to take off into the sunshine.
No, because like drug dealers, do you know what I mean? They're all fucking like, you know, from some Cockney gangster film, like what Guy Ritchie would have made. You know, they're all like jetting around with like $4,000 in cash in their pocket and that.
Yeah, but again, this isn't for the dealers. This is just for the people who get caught.
Yeah,
fucking smoking a bit of dope. That's it. It's genuinely. Oh well, we're actually going to make you lose your job because we took away your driving license because we decided, fuck it, we've got a quota to meet on weed today.
Yeah, the police are getting bored. They need new toys. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I also think that this is like, it sounds to me like what they're trying to do is scare the middle classes a bit.
No, what they're actually doing for the middle classes, I shit you not, is texting them from their dealers' phones.
Oh yeah, that's true. They are.
Yeah, I know. You took it away from me, Jamie, because that's where I was going with this. It's fucking with the middle classes, and it's trying to, they're basically trying to do cultural conservatism, I think, with some of this. I think this is like the actual, forget about the political stance of it. I think there's a bit of cultural conservatism, because what we want to do is we want to take drugs away from being this thing that middle classes are on board with and cool with, by making the middle classes scared again, and making it a thing that will really fuck over their career. Because as things currently stand, drugs aren't going to torpedo your professional career in this day and age like they would in the past, right? Obviously you don't do drugs on company time, and if they randomly test you for it, you're in a bit of hot water, but it's like, there's a lot of bosses that do not give a fuck if you toke up. If you're a white-collar professional and you do a bit of weed on the side, they don't care. And we don't care if you do a bit of coke on the side either, as long as it's not messing with your work or making you more productive, like you said, Jamie. Then they don't care. And the Conservatives don't like this because that leads to liberalisation. And so I think that's what it's like. Make the middle classes afraid, put a taboo on it, and then we'll roll back the narrative.
That assumes that the middle classes are incapable of holding the opposing viewpoints of drugs are cool when we do them, but those poors are out of control.
Exactly,
do you know what I mean?
No, you're right.
Bear in mind that the middle classes are fucking rubes, though.
Yes, here's the thing, you're right, they have always had that, it's fine when we do it, but those animals can't be trusted to handle it responsibly, right? They've always had that, but there's been this growing thing of, well, actually, we shouldn't have to go down and talk to that scary black gentleman on the corner. Can't we just call a nice drug deal? Shouldn't we really think about, legalising it in a structured way so that the right sort of people can use these medicines and that the riffraff are kept away from them? That's the direction it's kind of been going. And that's where the dispensary model thing comes from, and where medical cannabis and that sort of stuff comes from.
You see, on the one hand, you should go full legalization and have dispensaries and stuff. But on the other hand, I can't think of anything worse than having to buy weed from a Lib Dem.
I know, right? So the Tory policy, a mixture of good ideas and bad ideas.
Yeah. Well, let's just go into some fucking bad ideas, shall we? So this is going through Parliament tonight, I think.
I think this is what I was mixing up that passport thing with, by the way, if you're talking about what I think you're talking about.
It is. The Nationality and Borders Bill. Which, this is just a fucking cluster of
disgusting,
is this new
brain
powers,
damage.
New powers for Border Force to just seal people in a container and push them out to sea?
Yeah, so there's a few things that'll occur here. One such suggestion in the bill is offshore asylum centres will be created.
Oh.
Right.
The thing they've been talking about since forever, where this is, where all that bullshit about Australian-style point systems that from the Brexit debates, that's where this ends up.
Australian style point system now with added Nauru.
I don't think sending people to an island somewhere where it's hot is something the British government is going to do. Do you know what I mean? And go, we're going to send it to an island on the equator where you live in a camp. Because even though it's horrible and they shouldn't do it, if they did it, the Daily Mail would complain about all these asylum seekers getting a free tropical holiday.
Sounds about right.
And also,
that sounds right, but
putting people in a camp is too low tech for a modern leveling up Britain. So I think we're going to have offshore detention camps, but they're going to be seasteading.
No, because one plan which was put to, I think it was Rab, and he didn't deny it. Has been just anyone that comes in on a boat, fly them to Albania. So it's not quite a fucking tropical holiday destination.
It's Albania. Christ.
It's Albania. So, and it's also about as far away as you could fucking put them in Europe. It's like the opposite fucking end of Europe, isn't it?
Fucking Christ.
And how much are we paying Albania for this privilege?
Pass. It's not been confirmed as the thing that they're going to do yet, but it's one of the ones that's obviously on the table. So yeah, either way, if it's not Albania, it'll be somewhere else that's willing to do that, and no doubt there'll be a PFI attached to it as well. Because of course there will. Why would it be run by us in Albania?
Yeah, this is going to be some
company to deal with it.
This is going to be like
Albania.
Fucking. Yeah, I was going to say Group 4 are going to fucking just. Do you know what I mean? Be like, It's someone a group. Are they G4S now? Yeah, they're not. They haven't been Group 4 since like fucking 1920 or some shit. But anyway.
1945.
But yeah, like G4S. Someone at G4S is going to work out that this is like technically infinite money if they take the people to their centre in Albania and then let them go, so that they then end up back in Britain and then get returned to the G4 thing in Albania.
Strange idea.
See, man, I actually am a bit emotional about this one because I've read a lot of stories, an awful lot of accounts of people who've been to places like Maru. Quite literally, I've talked about it on the pod before, and no, that's not what's going to happen. That's not what's going to happen to these people. They are going to be locked up in inhuman conditions and encouraged to kill themselves. That's it. That's what it does. That's where this is going. So
yeah, it's all shit.
It's all good and well, to joke about how people are going to get paid out of it, but at the root of it, they're going to get paid for facilitating the dehumanization and murder by neglect of desperate people with their children who are coming to Britain because they believed the myth that life is better in Britain. And the sad thing is, compared to where many of them are coming from, it is actually true, because many of them are coming from places that are being levelled.
Well, strap in, listener, because you've got another 10-15 minutes on this topic. So the next thing...
comedy podcast, but sometimes we have to actually talk about some stuff, and there's not really a good way to make the jokes. Sorry, but, such is life.
Yeah. We tried. The next thing they are going to try and do here is authorisation of boat turnarounds. So at the minute, we can't really legally tell the boats to fuck off as they're crossing the channel. They want to change that so that we can. Technically, we still can't legally because it's international law and shit like that, but that doesn't matter.
I mean, when have we let that stop us?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But then
Brexit, we did Brexit. We're no longer international law no longer applies because we did Brexit.
Yeah, correct, we're under Admiralty law, except when we're not and don't want to be.
Yeah, the gold fringe is just attached with Velcro. Just apply it to the flag as and when necessary. The boat turnarounds thing, this also includes prosecution immunity for border force staff who do crimes when turning the boats around.
Yes,
great. So we're doing more Spike Up shit.
Yes. They're going to shoot the boats, I think. I think that's where this is going. Right.
Oh, yeah, that sounds about right. If they're not going to shoot them, they're just going to ram bigger boats into very small boats, and then when it capsizes and murders everyone on board, well, we were just trying to turn them around. Who could have possibly foreseen this fucking circumstance?
I think it's going to go, we are firing a warning shot, you have been warned. If you persist, then we will shoot your boat. And it will start with, we put holes in the boat to force them to turn around so they could make it back to shore before they sunk, right? Yeah. That's where it's going to start. But the end goal is going to be, using machine guns on the people in the boats if they don't turn around.
Yeah. The next thing we've got up is, as we alluded to with the passport, so that was a separate thing, is the nationality stripping. So we've actually been able to do this since 2006.
Mm-hmm.
It's been here for a while and doable, but it was only under Theresa May that it actually got to the point of stripping people of their nationality without having them with a second one. This is basically just going to put it in law that actually this is definitely okay now. Meaning that you don't have to have citizenship in another state, you just have to have some kind of connection, and the connection can include an ethnic connection, which means that there's about 6 million, means there are going to be 6 million people in the UK that will be at risk of having their nationality stripped from them at any fucking time.
What the fuck is an ethnic connection?
Literally, under that fucking vague description, literally everyone in the UK could have the citizenship
I don't know. If I got some curry takeaway last week, does that give me an ethnic connection? Is it?
I mean, if you're white, do you know what I mean? There's white people in France, go and live there.
Hello, it's David here in the edit. Actually, what the bill proposes is that a person could become stateless, or at least could end up stateless after having their citizenship stripped, if they are considered eligible for citizenship in another country, just as Shamima Begum was. Those are the kind of more specific rules here. So just having the eligibility of citizenship elsewhere, not even necessarily actual citizenship that's already been granted, is enough of a criteria, and that's why so many people are affected. But it's okay. It's been voted on in Parliament, and as we all know, when things are voted on in Parliament, amendments can be made. Sky News, in fact, told me that there are pages of amendments, 88 pages of amendments on this bill.
Oh, no. Oh, god damn.
You cannot fucking write this.
Oh.
Yeah.
Amado Iannucci, he's really gone into a very depressed phase in this period of his career.
That's better than doing more
fucking good.
Brexit
Good, he fucking deserves it.
Yeah, I know.
Right, okay, so I've got an example of a few of them here. There's one that is co-signed between Labour and Tory MPs.
Oh, good.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that you would get a physical certificate when granted settled or pre-settled status under the EU settlement scheme. That's one of the amendments they want to add there.
What does that do? Can you just hang it on your wall?
You get a bit of paper. And I assume that's a very small scope, really not looking at the big picture of this.
So we don't accidentally windrush a bunch of white people. That's what that is.
I'm assuming that's the kind of best of their abilities there. That one seems to have cross-party support, so we'll probably make it in. Okay. Labour has put one forward.
Oh, great.
That says the Home Office shouldn't be able to charge a fee which exceeds the cost of processing an application for a child registering as a British citizens. The most means-tested bullshit that you still need to pay for ever. Yeah.
I mean, it could have been worse. I was half expecting you to say that Labour had tabled an amendment saying hire more female machine guns.
Yeah.
The Tories have put one forward as well, saying that asylum claims shouldn't be processed in another country. That sounds a bit odd. You'd think that, they would want to kind of push this stuff out because they would give them more deniability or whatever, but the reason for that is that anyone who's been shipped off to fucking Albania or whatever, the time that they're there won't count as time towards the application being processed.
Funny that.
Fuck's sake.
Yeah. There's a couple of other amendments in there about making it slightly easier for people. There's a couple in there about making it easier for people from Hong Kong to move over. So there's some imperial guilt shit there, which okay, whatever.
Oh, I don't think it's imperial guilt.
It's not guilt. It's war with China.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that either. I think it's they just want a new cheap workforce. I think that's how they kind of look at it.
Also possibly that, yeah. Don't be wrong, the imperial guilt is guilty about losing the empire. That's the guilt. Fucking hell. Here's a quote that I seen just before we started from Bambos Charalambos of Labour.
Oh, great.
If those interested are told to send private direct messages to smugglers because they know that private conversations are encrypted, that is much more difficult for police and intelligence agencies to access.
No, come on.
Are we banning numbers?
We're banning numbers again. If the government are serious to tackle the criminal gangs that are profiting from people's desperation, it must take urgent action to tackle the problem online.
I've really had it up to here with illegal immigrants posting stuff against Zoe Williams on Twitter, and it must be tackled right now. I've had enough. You hear me?
Oh, name more numbers.
More of the fucking,
nothing good has ever come of numbers.
Amber Rudd lives eternal. And I've got one last one here, and this is possibly, it's hard to fucking quantify exactly which one of these is the most unnecessarily evil fucking thing. Some Tories specifically, and I'm going to name drop these cunts: Christopher Chope, Philip Hollowbone, Esther McVeigh, and Philip Davies.
Oh, right barrel of monkey fuckers there, isn't it?
They want to make it up to 12 months in jail, or a fine, or both, for entering the UK illegally and remaining without permission. Yep.
And does your 12 months in prison count towards your settled status?
Almost certainly not.
No, but on the plus side, you will get a nice job out of it.
Do you get Do you get access to your 3,000 quid skills wallet whilst you're in there?
Yeah.
Oh, no, again, almost certainly not, no. So yeah, that is going through tonight. I have no idea how it's going to come through.
Oh, you know
pass.
it will, how it's going to
do you know the worst part about the stripping the citizenship part?
Oh, God.
Don't have to tell you.
Oh, that's right. I didn't mention that yet. There's no need to give notice if it is considered to be in the public interest.
Wait, so they can just take your citizenship and not tell you? What, it'll be like just a giggling secret or something?
Yeah, you've been shadow banned from the nation.
Oh, fucking hell, yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but it's really fucking horrible.
On the plus side, though, if you do get like shadow banned from the nation, you're allowed to be anonymous on Twitter again.
Yeah, hey, there is that.
Well, the thing is, you put this all together, and what this paints a picture of, right? First of all, broad scale. The authoritarian regime has a million ways to fuck with you, but it demonstrates its benevolence by choosing selectively not to apply its rules to you. So you live in fear, but they're very magnanimous by only applying the rules to you if you fuck with them politically. So that's authoritarianism, totalitarianism, in fact, and that's where we're headed, right? So that's the broad scale.
Are you saying we're doing imperialism at home?
Said, how are you applying something to the imperial core? That sounds improbable.
Yeah, no, I don't know. We talked about this on the other episode, David, that sadly you missed, and I was saying, I wish David was there for this. Because it's extremely the shit that we've been talking about for some time. It's imperial practices being brought home and turned internally because, the empire must eat itself. But then, on the more literal level, what we've got a very particular picture, right? If you do not have the legal right to enter the UK, which, by the way, we've restricted and restricted and restricted and restricted and will continue to restrict, starting with the whole, you've got a foreign spouse, well, kind of shit, which I personally suffer from. They've done that part. Now they've moved on to, and if you come anyway, then, first of all, we'll shoot your boat and or possibly you. Second of all, if you somehow make it over here and we manage to intercept you, then we will put you basically in a kind of death camp where you'll die of neglect. On the other hand, if we catch you while you're here, rather than intercept you, then we will put you in prison where you will work as a slave, and then we'll kick you out. And if you're the wrong colour, and if somehow you've snuck in before this draconian shit, then, well, as long as you've got any other nation you've got a connection to, say you came from, right? Then we'll strip you of citizenship you've managed to acquire and not have to tell you about it, and you don't find out about it until you go to interact with civil institutions, at which point we'll arrest you for being here illegally, and then you'll get funneled into the system. You put it all together, it is a machine for basically committing genocide, and I don't use that lightly, because genocide isn't just about killing people in mass. It's also about reducing and displacing and moving, ethnicities and peoples out of a polity. That's what this kind of is, right?
Yeah.
It is the Skyrim for the Nords, except on a far more cursed paedophilic island.
Only you could tie this whole thing together with Skyrim. I don't know if I should be proud of you or hit you in the face.
You said it was too heavy, so I just was trying to keep it light. That's what you like, Rob, isn't it?
Yeah.
So since we're all now thoroughly depressed as shit from that, we have a couple of other things to lighten the mood, balance things back a little bit.
Better brainworms, comedy brainworms this time.
Yeah.
Absolute fucking grade A comedy brainworms. This time, courtesy of The Guardian and its weird support for what looks like the Progressive Alliance in their editorial line on Monday, on this Monday, where apparently the trick now is in the next by-election coming up in Buckinghamshire to replace Owen Paterson because of, all the scandals that we've forgotten because we're now talking about fucking dinner parties again. But the idea that The Guardian seems to be putting forward is that actually what is needed to secure a seat is for Labour to give up its chances and back the Liberal Democrats instead.
Now, hang on a minute. Sorry. I'm just a, humble political analyst here, but didn't Labour have a higher vote share than the Lib Dems at the last election there?
Oh, I mean,
yes.
Only like double the votes or something. Let's not be too hasty. But, I mean, it's not really true because apparently the Liberal Democrats have reported from their own polling over the weekend that they have closed the lead in the by-election, according to, again, their own internal polling. And that their candidate is up to almost 40%.
I'm just picturing a bar chart with an arrow that says, can win here.
It is pretty much exactly that, because what they did is, again, this is an internal Liberal Democrat poll where nobody saw the methodology, but we do know that it is only based on postal voters.
I mean, what methodology? Do you know what I mean? Surely they're in second place just because they're not led by fucking, the Beige Avenger.
I mean,
the avatar of Comedy Central made flesh. Who's
you say that right, but who is the leader of the Lib Dems?
Couldn't fucking tell you.
Exactly.
Wouldn't that honestly that's a plus for them. Really?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A yellow hammer, I believe, David, last we checked.
So let me read a little bit from the editorial. Losing a Leave-voting rural constituency would be a big earthquake and send shockwaves through the Conservative Party. Even if the Lib Dems came close, the result would send a shiver up the spine of Tory MPs. That's why North Shropshire's Labour voters ought to set aside their tribal loyalty and back the Lib Dem candidate.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. But the amazing thing is...
Just like to point out, by the way, I've got the numbers here from that last election.
Yeah, so do I.
Oh, please.
12,495 votes to Labour. That was down 9%. And 5,643 for the Lib Dems. They were up 4.7%. So that's them already on an upward swing off the 2019 election of all fucking elections, and they're now claiming that they can win this.
Yeah, but let's just to complete the picture.
I might go down and knock doors for them just for the bants. You know what I mean? Just because Labour keeps sending me fucking emails asking me if I want to go knock doors, and it's like, no, take the fucking hint, mate. You know what I mean? Also, tell me what information about me was fucking stolen in that by nefarious Russians in that hack the other week.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they still haven't told me.
We heard briefly about. Yeah, they still haven't fucking even told me that happened. Do you know what I mean? Let alone what. So, yeah. I'm just gonna wait until fucking Keith mugs start turning up the post or something before I find out. You know what I mean? The hacker was Luke Akehurst or some shit like that.
Yeah, but I mean, it could also, not happen, because even according to Labour's own internal polling, which was released today on Labour List, they say Labour instead of the Lib Dems is much the closer candidate, to everybody's great surprise. But both the Lib Dems and the Labour's own internal polling still have the Tories up by somewhere between 8 and 10%. So this is internal party horseshit, and it still isn't fucking happening.
No, I love this shit. I really do. Because there's this whole thing around this progressive alliance shit. And it gets right to the core of everything wrong with modern British politics, and it's so beautiful. Can I go off on one on this? Is that all right?
We did a whole episode, but go off on it again. But within limits, yeah?
Yeah. So it's basically, Keir Starmer's done everything he possibly fucking can to just prostrate himself before Capitol and go, I am so sorry, sir. I know we let the hand slip a little bit there, but it'll never happen again. And the entire intelligentsia and all of the handmaidens of Capitol have went, not fucking good enough. Not good enough. I guess we're just going to have to look elsewhere. Besides, we're happy with what the Tories are basically doing. So, if we want an ineffectual opposition, we'd rather have an ineffectual opposition that isn't Labour. That's what it boils down to. And then there's this kind of brain-dead idea that the British public are all sensible people who want the same things, which isn't the Tories. And I don't know if you've checked polling, but that's obviously not the case. And so the solution to this is to recognise that all politics that isn't Tories is purely divided by tribalism. And so we must conquer tribalism and pull together as rational actors and put forward one choice that everyone will just pick up, and that will be what wins. This idea that if we only give them one choice, if we, in essence, make a Republican versus Democratic system,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Then that will do it. They'll just all vote Democrat, because what else are they going to do?
I mean, instead, what they'll all do, which is another thing which, weirdly enough, the editorial posts in its favour. Let me read again. The tacit agreement between Labour and other progressive parties to stand aside in an outer London by-election last week, which was Bexley and something or other last week, was encouraging. The Tories held the seat, but there was a swing to Labour. And yes, indeed, there was. And there was some kind of weird thing where some people stood down. But the main and the most important thing to take away from that election is not the 10% swing to Labour. The main and most important thing to take away from that particular by-election is that turnout cratered from 30,000 in 2019 to 11,000 now. So, yes. That's the most important thing. When you do this shit, you turn off even more people from politics. And the only people who will remain are literally people who walked in Remain marches and, Brexit nutters. And we know what the results of that is, which is 52-48.
The system works.
Well, I actually wonder if it's partly intentional. I wonder if there's basically been a new settlement made and they've basically kind of went, we can't have populism. It's too dangerous. We can't have that kind of populism. Communism. So what we'll do instead is we will set up a system where we disenfranchise and make it hard to vote for the people who might split off and do something different, and then we'll just force Republicans versus Democrats, red versus blue on them, except it'll be some kind of, instead of red, it'll be, I don't know, probably some kind of yellow-green bullshit, essentially.
Mike Gapes. Real Labour.
Kind of, yeah, like that kind of thing, essentially. Yeah. I think we're kind of in the managed democracy kind of part.
If it's the Lib Dems and Labour combined, it'll be like a red square and a yellow square, I think.
Very funny.
It's pretty good.
It's not actually that complicated, James. What it is, they've calculated the footfall from the referendum, but they haven't taken into account that 4 of every 6 feet were dogs.
Jesus fucking Christ, I hate all of that, David. Yep. I absolutely loathe all of that.
Yep, good.
Yeah, but
good. So you fucking should.
Let me read the last paragraph from the editorial. And by the way,
I just want to say that fucking libs just really make it really getting close to the point where people stop liking dogs. Do you know what I mean? Because shit like the referendum and that Twitter account that was meant to be like Joe Biden's dog or whatever.
Oh, yeah. That's so much worse.
And the Twitter dog that barks at racism, that shit.
Yeah, but also, it's the same kind of thing that does that smug elitism through the veneer of a cat. And it's like, no, fuck you, cats are anarchists, piss off.
By the way, if you're wondering where this brain genius idea of the Labour standing down for the Lib Dems comes from, I think, and this is according to Wikipedia, so really who knows, I think it comes from a column by Ian Dunt. So, mastermind.
The Dunt rides again. Love it.
Oh, yes. Oh, it's so good. It's just really nice seeing the way that they just will not backstab at all.
Let me just read the last paragraph because it's fucking, it sparkles. There are Labour people who will never forgive the Lib Dems for their coalition with the Tories, and there are Lib Dem voters who will never forgive Labour for the invasion of Iraq. Well, there are also many people who forgive neither party for either, but fuck it, why not? Yet, how is it better for Labour's backers to let the Conservatives keep their parliamentary majority, which they would still have even if they lost this seat, of increasing the number of Liberal Democrats at the Tories' expense? The Lib Dem.
No, but you see, this would be the first. This would be the first shot fired in the Great War. Do you know what I mean? It'd be like that bit in Game of Thrones where the orc did something. I don't fucking know. Do you know what I mean? It'd be some bullshit like that. It'd be like the Battle of fucking Hogwarts or something. You know, just win this by-election, and that's the one thing that makes everyone stand up and say enough. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the Avengers or something, but with Pete Buttigieg instead of Captain America.
You should consider a job writing for the Guardian editorial page.
I absolutely should not.
All right, let me read the last bit. Without a Lib Dem revival, Labour has no serious prospect of being in power. Rouse over who is the best instrument of progress can be settled while in office. Progressive ought to embrace strategic voting with a vengeance next week to weaken Mr. Johnson's position. Weaken by turning his majority from 80 to 79. I think he'll be very sad if that happens.
I think we're about 9 months out from having a fucking image edit of that end scene of Avengers where like they all come out of the portals, except it's edited to be like the Greens and the Lib Dems and all of that kind of shit.
So recycling really cringy fucking Biden material.
Yeah, I was going to say recycling Jimmy Kimmel material.
I mean, how are they gonna do that when no one knows who the Lib Dem guy is?
It's okay. They'll just pick one of the ones in a mask.
To be fair, putting a Lib Dem in a gimp mask is not entirely inappropriate.
No, it's really not.
I thought we weren't allowed to do horny on the pod.
It's like the least horny thing we've ever talked about.
Sorry, talking about Lib Dems' sexuality is not horny, Jamie.
Moving on. It is to them. It is to them. Right, moving on, please, God. One last thing.
There's no God here.
No, you're right. No.
There's no God here, there's only Vince Cable.
Vince fucking Cable. Vince Cable is still alive, everyone.
Oh, that's good to know.
It is good to know, because if he wasn't still alive, he wouldn't have been able to write this terrible fucking article that I have found.
Oh no, you guys are setting up a bridge. Fuck you.
Has he donned the fedora of Euphoria?
He has not actually, no, the picture does not have the hat on. You ever noticed that Vince Cable just sounds like Keir Starmer, but with the confidence of a higher body count?
Oh, yes. Fantastic.
So, Vince Cable wrote an article titled, "We need to get the elderly back into work to tackle budget deficits and public debt."
Oh,
yes.
That's so sad. Isn't it sad when an old person who doesn't want to retire writes a letter asking for you to put them back in their old job? Oh, Vince, I know you want to tackle the budget deficits, right? You know, you're Vince Cable, the business secretary who has to do his business. We know. But
I'm glad you brought that up, because like, I didn't want to be the one that had to mention it, but that's literally the only thing I can think of when his name like occurs. Do you know what I mean?
It's just so tragic. It's just he's repeating the past and going, no, please don't put me out of pasture. I can still work. Let me in. I'll write all the stuff about making the old work, and I'll get us back on the budget and all that kind of good stuff. Please, Vince.
Imagine
retire with grace.
Imagine going to the big Tesco and the guy that greets you at the door is Vince Cable. Wearing like 3 fedoras, do you know what I mean? And just fucking oscillating.
No, he's got one fedora, but it's in company colours, along with a little vest.
Yeah, that's even sadder. Our ageing population is fueling inflation and adding to public debt.
Good, die.
Getting elderly, retired. Didn't take long for a problem with this premise, did it?
I just if we were in the same room, me and Rob would be looking at each other and making a jerk off motion at that. Carry on.
I think a good way to solve his problem, right, is if we enact some sort of trade deal, and I receive like a crossbow and he receives a 10-minute head start.
Getting elderly, retired, but fit people back into the workforce and treating them as an economic resource is right, even if it is provocative.
Provocative? Oh, it's right even if it's evil.
What if we reintroduce chattel slavery but with walkers? I mean, what is this?
The economic effects of ageing are complex, but we can make a few plausible assumptions.
Can we?
First,
oh, wow.
Yes, we can.
Oh,
yes.
This is going to be good.
First, there is a pressure on government budgets, since there are more people with high dependency requiring expensive health treatment and social care. At the same time, the share of population which is working goes down, reducing the tax take. So, in the absence of continued budget tightening, governments will run up growing budget deficits and public debt.
Well, fortunately, we know what the fucking Libs Dem do when faced with this situation, don't we? Fucking pricks.
I went into a coma there, like fucking hell.
Yeah, I have cut elements of this article out, by the way, to save you from actual death. So,
was there a musical number?
Yeah, there was, but it was just Vince Cable kind of spinning round in a wee hat saying China bad.
Jesus.
In addition, the retired population will spend out of its accumulated savings.
Yeah.
Savings.
What?
The decline in the share of the...
Tell me you're the worst kind of middle-class fuck without telling me. You know what I mean? Accumulated savings. Eat a dick.
Tell me you wear a fedora without telling me you wear a fedora.
The decline in the share of the working age population will reduce the productive capacity of the economy.
This is like textbook economy, but like the end conclusion. This is fucking Swift.
He's got to set you up.
He's gonna. The last paragraph is gonna, and that's why we should eat the elderly. Is that where this is going?
Increasing demand for goods and services while reducing supply.
Means test Soylent Green.
Increasing demand for goods and services while reducing supply will create inflation, all other things being equal.
Is this a test?
No, that's not how it works.
It's not how this works.
Yes, I know it's not. In practice, he says, though, governments will use monetary and fiscal policy to counter the trend, but it will be like walking into a stiff headwind.
You could do that. You could just keep walking into a stiff headwind. It's not that hard, unless you're Vince Cable and your bones are made of toast at this point.
Another likely consequence is growing inequality between generations.
Oh, you don't say. That thing that isn't a thing.
The old demand more spending on health and social care as pressures on hospitals
Yes, you've
grow.
made this point already 3 paragraphs ago, but make it again, you forgetful old man. Jesus.
We have seen that budgets for schools and colleges are being relatively squeezed. Are we now, Vince?
This is a masterclass. Vince has still got it.
This fucking... How is
additional spending? No, I'm not finished.
Rob's going to go straight out here and slap the first pensioner he meets. Do you know what I mean?
Isn't Rob staying with his parents right now?
No, I'm back at home. I'm back.
Oh, thank God for the sake of your parents. Yeah.
It's going to be on the news tomorrow that some like random pensioner in Switzerland was just pile driven by like an insane man.
Another drained body has been discovered outside the looming vampire castle. This one's strangely old.
But this is the first time their wallet has been emptied. This is
This is a long article. This is quite a long article. Please let me get through it.
Oh, now you know how I feel all the time, David.
It's your time you're wasting, Rob. You're an hour ahead. Additional spending.
We should crack on because my food gets here. I'm just going to fucking disappear. There'll be a cloud of smoke shaped like me left on the podcast.
Additional spending currently promised for health and social care is being financed by taxes which fall on the working population in the form of national insurance contributions, rather than by taxation on the accumulated capital of the elderly. That is not all. In the last, quotes, decade of austerity.
Wonder where that came from.
Whatever did happen to
that was only a decade.
How did we get there? It's inquiring minds.
With falling real wages for many working families, pensions were protected through the, quotes, triple lock.
Yeah, how did that happen? Where did that come from? I'm really confused.
Right? There is also a political ratchet effect whereby ageing produces an ageing electorate.
I'm sorry, I just got really startled by my reflection in my bowl. What were we talking about?
Sorry, I need to wipe the blood that's coming out of my nose. Jesus Christ.
And one where older people have a higher propensity to vote, defending its interests in terms of government spending priorities at the expense of younger people.
Yeah, imagine a situation where that would be a thing that happened. That would be surreal.
Someone please come and pick up your granda.
Or just hit him about the head with an economics textbook for a while.
No, that's obviously what caused this fucking problem, because that's all he can say.
He's so... this is another example of Lib Dems being incredibly bad at politics, but I'll let you finish the article, David, and then I'll tear it apart. Carry on.
Moreover, younger people have less secure employment than before.
Yeah, how did that happen?
With fewer careers offering steady progression and salary increments, and essentially none offering final salary pensions.
Yeah, how did that happen? What mysterious force came into play when that happened? Ooh, must be ghosts.
We just don't know.
And there is an inflationary property market, which excludes those with low and average incomes and rewards older owner-occupiers with appreciating property wealth.
Right, I vote that we begin by expropriating Vince Cable. Or eating him.
I don't think you'll get much for him.
Eat left or right, whatever.
Some of these pressures, right, we're getting into solutions territory now. Some of these pressures could be eased if younger fitter people of retirement age were to continue working.
What the fuck?
Sorry, I was going to hold back, David. I have to hit win with this now. Why do they need more medical care, Vince? Why do they, take more money from the government to support them? Why do they retire, Vince? Why do they do that, Vince? Why do you think it is? Is it just because it's a social thing that they do? Maybe you think it is, Vince, because you've had a fucking easy life. But in the actual world, with people who, for example, work a manual trade of any kind, where they actually have to move their bodies, and their bodies aren't just vehicles for their massive throbbing brains that are negotiating plastic bag taxes, in the real world, it's because they're wrecked. They need the healthcare. They are on decline. They can't work. That's
James.
why it's retirement.
No, James, you've jumped ahead of him. He's thought about all this.
Oh, good.
Oh, lovely. Thank God. I was really worried for a second there that
What's his solution? Is it exoskeletons powered by the blockchain?
Oh God, no! I don't think Vince Cable knows about the blockchain. I'm terrified if he ever finds out about it.
Sorry, he wears a fedora.
Yeah, he knows about the blockchain.
He knows about the blockchain.
Hatcoin.
Yeah.
He wears a fedora and he's never made a woman come. He almost certainly knows about the blockchain.
They would help to meet growing labour shortages. They would generate more tax revenue for government, and in many cases, they would keep themselves mentally and physically active, thereby postponing the onset of conditions leading to high dependency.
Right, so if there's more more people participating in the labour market, Vince, and all the people stay in the labour market while young people come on the labour market, what happens to wages, Vince? And if a proportion of that goes into your pension, what happens to the pension, Vince? Vince, are you at home?
Ask about that.
Vince, is anybody there? Fuck, Vince.
I enjoy that you get more Dutch the more fucking sick of this shit you get.
If I could send one man into the countryside and break his glasses, I'd fucking
He is getting on, so if he's looking for future work, then fruit picking would suit him, I guess.
Well, remember, he did say younger people of retirement age. The barriers to such employment are falling. Compulsory retirement has been outlawed, and age discrimination is illegal too, at least in theory. The nature
a Lib Dem comes down to earth for a second.
The nature of work is less physical and more desk-based.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
For you, just so much of the problems of Britain, as articulated by MPs, can be met with a big resounding for you, because they really have no scope beyond their own bubbled lives.
All I can see is that poster of the ballerina retraining in cyber, but instead it's your fucking nan with a walker. She's retraining in cyber.
She's retraining in ballet. We lost all the dancers.
While more flexible working patterns, like 0 hours contracts, are less secure, they may suit older workers who are looking to supplement their pension income.
All those desk-based jobs that are 0 hours, all the many jobs that are 0 hours and also desk-based.
Yes. Fitness levels are generally higher. All those yoga and Pilates classes, walking, gym and cycling, or in my case, ballroom dancing and gym.
Oh, for heaven's fucking sake.
This is that big pyramid, right, where it's got the middle classes and it says, "We eat for you." That's Vince Cable's face on that, please.
All I see is the big pyramid with the glowing eye on top of it, and it's just looking at me and just telling me to fuck off.
Furthermore, many older people need to work because their occupational pension provision is inadequate for comfortable retirement.
How could that happen,
in
Vince?
Particular,
why is that a thing that happened?
In particular, there are large numbers of women who prioritised unpaid parenting and are now denied the full state pension.
Yeah, how did that happen?
Or who have been caught out by the postponement of the women's pension age. Just listen, going forward, imagine Rob saying a mantra of how did that happen.
This is Vince Cable turning around and firing shots into the elderly and going, "Oh, why did Labour let this happen?"
Wait, no. Sorry. I need to read this next bit. Work until you drop used to be a feature of exploitive capitalism or enslavement. Wait. Work as long as you can may be the slogan of a society trying in an ageing society to get a better balance between the interests of young and old. But how do we achieve
before I kill again?
Work as long as you can. Jesus fucking wept.
Don't work until you drop. Work as long as you can.
Yeah, yes. Work as long as you can, and until you are free.
Right, how do we do this? First, more imagination. There are numerous roles. Teaching in schools and colleges, policing, nursing and doctoring, legal work, accounting, working in supermarkets, delivering the post, which those who have reached pensionable age may be happy to perform for a limited number of hours, provided there is no financial disincentive.
All those...
Sorry, I'm just... Right, police officers retire from active service earlier because of the physical demands of the role.
Yeah, right? Because they...
I'm just picturing it. Yeah. Well, no, think what you want about the police. You've heard our opinions on it before. You know where we stand on abolition. It's a good thing, etc., etc. Right. Like just think of the physical function of a police role as it's constituted today. Forget about the morality of it for just for a second, okay? Just for a little moment, listener. Being a police officer requires that you be able to tackle,
Bobby's on the beat.
wrong-uns. Yeah, it requires you physically do shit. And at bare minimum that you be physically imposing. Right? Now picture Vince Cable as a Bobby on the beat in his stab vest and his hat. Right? Something doesn't add up here.
Now, you see, though, technology leads the way. We just give all of the older cops 2 tasers.
Also, can I just briefly point out, working in supermarkets and delivering the post, those famous desk-based jobs that elderly people can easily do.
Yes.
Doctors and nurses, all of them desk-based forever.
This is this incredibly depressing, I think we talked about it on a previous pod, that incredibly depressing American ad for Burger King, where it's like, come work at Burger King in your retirement. It's that, but it's Vince... Jesus wept.
Well, that's all well and good, right? But it requires employers to be flexible and to maximise synergies between workers of different age and experience.
Jamie, do you feel happy now? Are you okay?
Yeah. Okay, now.
I don't...
Second, retraining. Skills atrophy.
Do they? Much like bones and brains.
Older workers will often lack IT aptitude. As a 78-year-old part-time worker...
Fuck.
That's how he's self-defining here. As a 78-year-old part-time worker,
your job is to wear
creative hours
and do after-dinner speeches like a cunt. That's not delivering the post, you fucking imbecile.
Vince, I want you to edit and send a PDF for me.
Well, no, that's exactly what he's about to say here. But I have the computer skills of a 6 or 7-year-old, and no, you don't.
Does he?
You fully do not. Vince Cable 1v1 me on Fortnite.
Yeah. My nephews could beat the snot out of you on Fortnite, and they're 6 and 8.
Vince Cable, show me your Minecraft build. Vince Cable, I want to fight and kill you in your Minecraft build.
People are expected to teach themselves keyboard skills, which are daunting for those who hone their communication skills in a world of pen and paper.
So can I use my skills wallet? Is that what's next?
Why not?
Okay,
Why not?
Christ.
Adult education institutions should be seen not just as places for hobby learning, but for improving such basic modern generic skills. Perhaps, in short, boot camp retraining programs.
What? Sorry, could you repeat the first part of that again?
adult education institutions should be seen not just as places for hobby learning.
Not just as. They're not seen that at all.
No.
Like, what the fuck, planet? This is, I can't believe, just how out of touch do you have to be to think that the adult learning institutions are just there to pick up a bit of pottery on the side? They do that to supplement some of their income a lot of the time because their real work is retraining people. Like, actually giving adults skills. He's got it. I mean, I know, right? It's a Lib Dem has got something exactly backwards, but fucking hell.
I'm more stuck on boot camp retraining programs. Like, what? Are we making them squaddies now? Is that what we're doing? Are we dragging them for a couple of weeks into a tent so they can learn how to type with their tiny arthritic little hands? What the fuck?
They weren't on the list there, but why not?
Jesus.
Right, how about point 3?
Wept.
Point the third. We should learn from countries further advanced in aging. Especially Japan.
Okay, so more senior citizen hentai drawers.
This is gonna... He's about to bring up his body pillow, isn't he?
Yeah.
The oldest area in Japan is called Akito.
Okay, fine, whatever.
It has been described as the backwater which leads the world.
Okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah. The local authorities, instead of the usual emphasis on sheltered housing for retired people, encourage integrated living. There are socio-economic reasons for this, Vince.
I thought for a moment you said shelling housing for retirement people. I'm like, yeah, right, let's go with that.
The elderly offer childcare, and in return, working-age families offer services which the older residents need. Women are able to work without the uncertainties and costs of childcare, and elderly people have a useful role as well as support.
Okay, so I get assigned a random granda who's going to teach my kids how to listen to GB News. All right, that sounds amazing.
Well, no, you wouldn't know because it's very much a your parents will live with you forever type deal in a lot of these kind of places. It's fully for socioeconomic reasons that this is a thing that is encouraged. It's bullshit.
It's my own parents.
This is some sort of honourable trait or whatever that we should all aspire to. It's nonsense.
See, Japan's basically corporate fascist when you really pull it apart, right? It's like they don't really have a democracy in there. It's all stage managed. And it's all for the benefit of corporations and for the old screwing over the young. And yes, Japan is kind of ahead of us. And I guess this kind of gives the game away, doesn't it? It's just that rather, in Japan, they do nominally have some basic societal things that we don't have here. There's still some community things that they have there. Like they've got respect for the elderly. There is a nominal respect for nature, though actually it's overblown a lot of the time. And, there are some basic community things still sort of alive there a bit due to a whole bunch of socioeconomic factors following from the restructuring after World War II, mainly, right? And we are headed for Japan, but without any of the virtues, essentially.
Or any of the cool drawings of tentacles.
Well, not if Vince has anything to say about it. Still, Japan is not something to aim to be. Ever. I don't get me wrong, I like the Japanese people I've met. I like the Japanese people full stop, I suspect. If I, was to go to the country, I'd probably get on very well with the people I met there. But Japan, the state, and the state that Japan is in, is not something to be envied or copied at all.
No, it's kind of shit. Maybe he can wrap this up in the last point. He's got a final point.
All right, Vince, bring it home. You've been working up to it. We
believe
in you.
Just before I go on, I'd just like to say how much fun it is hearing Rob suffer this much at an article. This never happens.
Well, usually I get my nose bleeds and small aneurysms out of the way while I read it the first time. Christ alive.
Finally, there are millions of older people who cannot work and depend on care. As with others who have a physical or mental disability or chronic illness, they rely on an army of carers. Many carers are volunteers and are unpaid, especially relatives of dependent loved ones.
Yeah.
They may not pay tax and are not counted in GDP statistics, but they substitute for people who do and are. Their role in an ageing economy needs to be factored in.
As Soylent.
That means providing much more respite care, both as a compassionate measure and as a means of postponing when people have to go into expensive institutional care permanently, and far more generous carers' allowances to compensate for dropping out of formal work.
Yeah, whatever. That's the most human thing that he's said so far.
Yeah, but again, it's just let's adjust the carers' allowance. It's not any sort of actual recognised and meaningful category that you can slot yourself into. It's just make sure you apply for this probably still shitty benefit. But it's Vince Cable, so what would you expect there? Britain has the advantage of time to prepare gradually for an ageing population and to adapt.
No, it doesn't.
For many, that will mean working longer, but that is the price we pay for living longer.
Yeah, we.
Who the fuck's we?
Yeah.
You fucking prick. This man was once very in the top levels of power and made decisions that still impact the lives we live today. Fucking
This
hell.
man once got to bring his sippy cup along when he listened to George Osborne. God damn.
Yeah.
I feel genuinely a bit, I've said it before, mentally and spiritually bereft after that. Here's the thing, okay, I said I'd deconstruct this a tiny little bit, David. That is masterfully put together for complete and utter bullshit, right?
Yes.
Because there's a lot of rhetorical tricks going on there. He talks about how wealth is disproportionately concentrated in the elderly, and therefore that's the reason we should make the elderly continue to work longer when they can't do otherwise. What he's basically saying is wealth is disproportionately concentrated in the elderly, so we need the poor elderly to work longer. And he's playing this intergenerational divide thing as a fucking cover and by the way to get manufacturer kind of consent for this action he wants to undertake. And all throughout, the amount of chicanery going on in this, and the amount of intentional blindness to, as Rob said, gee, I wonder how that happened. It's really quite, Vince has still got it. He's still got it. He's still got the ability to spin absolute horseshit. But he's still peak Lib Dem, because this is terrible, absolutely terrible, because if there's one voting base the Lib Dems have a chance of capturing after the Tory social care fuck-up, it's actually the regressive elderly, and he's pissing that up the wall.
Yep. These are the people who ideologically operate within the Progressive Alliance sphere.
Yes.
This is what we're supposed to look forward to as opposition.
The Progressive Alliance is basically, we have no objection to Starmer's version of Labour, apart from the fact they've displeased the paymasters, and we see an opportunity to supplant them, so we can be the Democrats who collect a fee by being an ineffectual opposition. That's what the Progressive Alliance basically wants to be. The pick-me's of capitalist cronies, basically.
Well, that's, That's a gaze into the mind of a Lib Dem. We have not done this in a while.
Shit. Sorry, commentariat.
Correct. Okay, so that is that.
Thank fuck.
What a fun roller coaster of emotion tonight has been. Before we disappear, though, let's have a little look ahead and see what we've got coming up, shall we? So, we have got a special 2-part premium episode, which should have been last month.
Very special.
Very special.
Incredibly special.
Yeah, that will be dropping at some point in the next week or so.
It's well worth it.
Look out for that on the Patreon.
I don't remember much of it, but I think it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were around hour 2 when the drugs began to take hold.
So we've got that coming up. We have Sinan coming back on for a cursed book reading next week.
Very good.
Look forward to that. That'll be
great.
That's a free episode, so that'll be out for everyone. We have another premium episode after that in December. We then have another premium episode coming out in December. And then we've got another premium episode coming out right at the start of January as well. So there's plenty going on the Patreon. So if you would like in on any of that, patreon.com/PraxisCast. £5 a month, and you will get access to all of that and everything previous to it. Along with that, we should have an episode out every single week for you. Across Christmas, we are going balls to the wall to get all the fucking content recorded. I am losing my mind with the amount of editing that's going to need to be done, and the amount of planning that's going to need to be done, and just the amount of fucking bullshit that needs to be done.
Yeah, you, the listener.
The amount of fucking bad movies I need to watch.
And also, like, apologies to our Patreon subscribers, but we didn't have a bonus episode out last month. Hopefully, the bumper pack you're getting this month more than makes up for it.
Yeah,
and,
you are effectively getting 4 episodes in December, and you'll probably get 2 in January as well.
Yeah. So, apologies for the fuck up, but we hope this makes up for it.
Let's go. We'll see you all, hopefully, on the next Patreon episode. If not, we'll see you on the next free one.
Yep.
Hi.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Bye.